Alright, let's talk some Star Wars. Yeah, I get it. Another bashing all over Disney Star Wars video on YouTube. Real original, I know. But, I think we got something to discuss here. December 16th, 2019. A day long remembered for the release of this turd. I believe that the Earth Goddess released COVID-19 upon us because of how poorly Disney handled the Star Wars universe it was gifted for, $4 billion. The Rise of Skywalker was just like the straw that broke the camel's back for me. It's just like 40 years of character development it's just gone. It just wasn't there. Like, there's zero imagination put into these movies. It just seemed like two fevered egos fighting back and forth over control of their action figures. That's pretty much what all three of these movies in this trilogy even came out to be. I guess Mark Hamill's right when he said,
I hope people are happy. It seems like, because in Hollywood, remember, kids, it's not important if it's of high quality, only if it makes money.
I just don't know. It feels like these movies aren't even Star Wars movies. So last year, after wanting some good Star Wars stories in my life, I took it upon myself to read the book Darth Plagueis. And I'll tell you what, I love this book. It is just filled with this backstory of the Phantom Menace, and it gives you Palpatine's backstory, how he becomes Darth Sidious, and mostly about Darth Plagueis.
Did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Who I thought was the most interesting Sith Lord ever at first. And I took a look at this book again. In the first few pages, it has what seems to be an endless amount of books to read in this timeline, starting from 25,793 years before the Battle of Yavin, or A New Hope. And it goes all the way to about 45 years after. I said to myself, wow, this is a lot of Star Wars. And I bet all those books on that timeline are better than what Disney could come out with. Other than The Mandalorian, which is alright. It's not perfect, but it's better than what we are given so far. So what I did was go to Amazon right away and got the first book on the list. Star Wars, Dawn of the Jedi, Into the Void. Basically, this book is about a Jedi Ranger named Lonnery Brock, who's tasked by the Jedi Council to stop her own brother Dylan Brock from activating a hypergate on the planet Tython. The Jedi are worried about a massive black hole being created and completely destroying the entire Tython system. Lonnery Brock has to go through many hardships and revelations in this decent book that starts off the Star Wars Expanded Universe timeline. And off I went diving into the lore of Star Wars. I loved it. It occupied my mind in a positive way, and while dealing with the stress of the world, and also while getting sober at the same time. So I had a lot on my mind, and this is a great escape. I found myself wanting even more. So next on the list was Star Wars, The Lost Tribe of the Sith, The Collected Stories. This book consists of 9 short stories about a bunch of Siths that crash onto a planet in the middle of uncharted territory. Shortly finding out that this planet was inhabited, each story tells about a new generation of Sith and how they continue to conquer more and more of the planet. Basically showing us the main characteristic of the Sith is about being in power and conquering over the weak. And while reading one of those short stories in that last book, it ties in very well with their next book. Star Wars, The Old Republic, Revan. I didn't know this one's gonna be good. It follows Revan trying to regain order of his life after the events of the Knights of the Old Republic game, which is another great Star Wars product, not made by Disney. Revan takes it upon himself to try and stop the Sith Empire before they can attempt to attack the Republic once again. And now it's time for my first Expanded Universe trilogy, the Old Republic books. And first on the list is Deceived. This is the first book I've read that I really fell in love with. We start the book with Darth Malgus and his Twi'lek lover Alina Daru sneaking their way towards the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. When they arrive, they force their way in, and as they are confronted by Jedi, a ship full of Sith plows into the temple, and a huge battle plays out. Darth Malgus then kills one of the Jedi Masters, Ven Zalo, and the Sith are victorious. The book also tells the story of Jedi Knight Aaron Lanier, who sensed her master's death and has to sneak away from the Jedi Order to find out for herself who was responsible for his death, despite any consequences she may face. And I just gotta say it again, I really love this one. And next on the list, we have Star Wars Red Harvest. This book wasn't a part of the Old Republic trilogy, but it follows right after Deceived. And Red Harvest is pretty unique in a way because it's a Star Wars horror novel. And it was alright. It took me a little bit to get into this book, but after a slow start, I found myself getting lost in the Star Wars universe once again. This book gives us our first look at a Sith Academy, where Darth Scabrous is on a quest for immortality, and young Jedi Hetzizo Trace has the missing piece of the puzzle, a black orchid, who through the Force made a special bond with Trace, and were both kidnapped and taken to Darth Scabrous. But as Scabrous begins his scheme for immortality, he accidentally creates an infection that turns the entire academy of students and Sith into zombies. And with that, we're back to the Old Republic trilogy with the next installment, Star Wars, the Old Republic Fatal Alliance. In this book, we start off with Jet Nebula, a smuggler ship captain, who finds a starship called Cincia, and as they capture it for boarding, all of a sudden, the Cincia self-destructs. And through the wreckage, they discover a strange artifact that Jet was sure Tessa Barish, the Hutt crime lord he worked for, would be very happy to receive. Barish goes and starts an auction between the Republic and the Sith Empire for this artifact, and both parties create a scheme to try and take it for themselves. During this attempt, both Jedi Padawan Shigar Kanchi and Sith apprentice Eldon Axe run into each other and begin to fight over the artifact. At this time, a Mandalorian named Dao Striver makes a move for the artifact themselves. And during the fight, they find out that the artifact was much more than anyone could have bargained for. Next up, we've got Star Wars The Old Republic Annihilation, where we meet Theron Shan, who was secretly born in the world by Jedi Grandmaster Satel Shan, both descendants of Revan and Bastila Shan. Even though Theron was born into a powerful family, he did not inherit Force sensitivity. Theron, however, found his own way to fight against the Sith by becoming a field agent of the Republic Strategic Information Service. Basically, like the CIA of Star Wars. The state of the galaxy has turned from a Cold War to a galactic war, and the Supreme Commander of the Republic military plans a way to give the Republic an edge in the conflict, by destroying the superweapon Ascendant Spear controlled by Darth Carid, former Jedi turned to the dark side as the apprentice of Darth Malgus. Our hero Theron Shan was chosen to lead the operation with the aid of Jedi Master Nos Durl, who plans to stop his former apprentice from destroying any more of the Republic fleet. Next on the list is Star Wars Knight Errant. This book is about Jedi Knight Cara Holt and her quest to stop as many Sith Lords as she can. But, while doing so, she is caught in the middle of a battle between Sith Lord Daemon, who believes he's the creator of the universe, and Sith Lord Odin, who embraced a nihilistic philosophy which embraced death and nothingness as true peace. During this battle, Cara Holt was forced to save the lives of a large group of innocent people, who were also caught within the crossfire. And with the unwilling help of mercenary general Gerald Rusher, Cara Holt tries to find a peaceful home for these rescued refugees. But in doing so, Cara Holt finds herself becoming acquainted with even more Sith Lords, each more unique than the last. That last book turned out to be my least favorite out of all of them that I've, covered so far. But I was still, really interested in the history that that book pertained. But little did I know that the next few books that I was going to read would be my favorite books that I've ever read in my entire life. And those books, the Darth Bane trilogy. I'm going to give the last 3 books their own video. They're just that good and they deserve it. I'm going to go into a little bit more depth with them. But, I just really hope this video gives a good example of how all these different authors can put out way better Star Wars material, more originality, more entertaining. I'd read a book and then I'd think about it later, and it's like I watched a movie. It's all in my head. It's crazy. And it's just, I want that example to be that these guys can, make better Star Wars stuff than the people that made the sequel trilogy. Well, I hope you liked my review about how the expanded universe, just the Old Republic era is alone, is better than the sequel trilogy, and that you'll stick around and stay tuned for my video about the Darth Bane trilogy. And I also hope that you have a good day.